Did I tell you about the branches of philosophy and how the word philosophy came about? Yes. The word philosophy comes from two root words, feel and sophy. Feel matlab love, sophy means wisdom. So in philosophy, the literal meaning of philosophy is the subject which creates love towards wisdom. And I told you in the last lecture that we investigate three things in philosophy, that is truth, good, and beauty. In Hindi or Marathi, we call it Satya Shiv Sundar, right? Now, there are four branches of philosophy. One is metaphysics, second is epistemology, थर्ड इज लॉजिक एंड फोर्थ इज एक्सियोलॉजी, है ना। इसमें से ये जो पहली तीन ब्रांचेस है, मेटाफिजिक्स, एपिस्टेमोलॉजी एंड लॉजिक, दे डील विथ ट्रूथ, while axiology deals with what is good and what is beautiful. So the word meaning, metaphysics, meta means to go beyond, so going beyond physics and investigate the reality. So the definition of metaphysics is, I think I told you in the last lecture, systematic study of existence. In Marathi we call it अस्तित्वात असण्याचा शास्त्रशुद्ध अभ्यास. So do you remember that I told you about metaphysics? So what they do in metaphysics, they try to investigate the real nature of reality that we experience. For example, I'll give you example. This is a bottle, right? So it has got some existence. But in philosophy, we don't take its existence for granted. We ask, what proves that this bottle exists? So some people might say that we can see it. But the philosophy asks counter question, that whatever you see, does it really exist? For example, mirage, right? Mirage is there, you see it, but does it exist? No, it doesn't, right? You see that there is water, but it is an illusion created by light. Or the blue color of the sky, your eyes show that there is a blue color, but science tells you that there is no blue color, it is an illusion created by light, right? So are you getting the point here? So philosophy goes beyond what is obvious. It doesn't take for granted the existence of things as we experience them. So there is a school of thought in philosophy which say that experiences could be deceptive. You need to use your reason. So there are certain hypothetical experiments that have been conducted in philosophy to investigate the reality. And there have been a history of Western philosophy where different philosophers try to investigate the truth. Okay, so there is one book you need to refer to in order to study not only for philosophy but also for philosophical essays. That book's name is Sophie's World by Justin Gardner. Have you heard about this book, Sophie's World? Yes, online people. This book gives you history of Western philosophy in a story format. The story is woven around uh, the girl named as Sophie, and if you go through it, you will find philosophy very entertaining, right? So in Sophie's World, you'll find that different bands of philosophers have spoken about the reality. For example, first group talked about the material reality. They said that matter is made of water, air, fire. Some said that it is made of atoms. Second group of philosophers talked about the change. So I might have told you about Heraclitus or Parmenides. Heraclitus said that everything changes, nothing is permanent. His famous statement was, "You cannot enter into the river twice, because by the time you enter again, the river had changed and you also have changed." But there was another philosopher who countered his claim by saying that reality is permanent, the change is only an illusion. Third group of philosophers focused on our ability to receive knowledge, because according to them, the perception depends on perceiver. So this group was known as sophist, and they created challenge for morality. They also state that morality differs from person to person. And then came our giant philosophers, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, those that we are going to study. So I was telling you about some philosophical experiment. Did I tell you some philosophical experiment in the last lecture? Yes. Concerning metaphysics, epistemology, logic, and axiology. Yes. Did we discuss any hypothetical experiments in our last lecture? No. So one experiment is brain in vat theory. Okay. So imagine that you are a brain put in a pot which is filled with nutrients good enough to keep your brain alive. The way we get, essential input to our brain in our skull, similar essential inputs are provided to the brain, kept in a pot. And this brain is fed with all sensations through different wires, the way we have sensations now. For example, we right now have sensations that you are listening to my lecture and I'm talking to you and you are reacting to my arguments or questions, right? So this is all happening in that brain. And if it is true, this theory or this experiment was put by David Hume. You might remember him. That sentimentalism was a theory given by David Hume, empiricist. So he said, if it is true that you are that brain and not a person, but you feel like one, that because whatever happening right now as a person in your life is happening in brain. So if it is true, how would you prove that you are actually not that brain, you are a person? Is it really possible to prove that uh, you are not that brain and you are actual person? Would you prove it? Because whatever you do will happen in brain. Is it not now happening in brain? Yes, listening to this lecture, nodding your head to my argument, replying to me in chat box. Is it not all happening also in brain? So even if you pinch yourself to check the reality, this sensation will go in brain, right? So this raises an important question about our existence. Are we real person or is it just a conception in someone's brain or our brain? Are you getting point? Some people claim that this entire world is mere idea happening in bigger consciousness, and we are just simple dots in those consciousness. Okay, so that is a domain of metaphysics. I'll give you another example or another hypothetical famous experiment in philosophy. Its name is Ship of Theseus. So Theseus was an ancient Greek warrior, and this experiment is designed after his ship. So imagine you have a ship and you replace its parts one by one, old parts, and you replace them by exactly same but new part. Okay, dhire dhire over a period. There comes a point you have replaced all old parts and their place is taken by exactly same new parts. If it happens over a period of time, the question is the ship new or is the ship old? What's your point of view? Yes. सवाल समझ में आ गया आपको? If you replace all parts one by one, and there comes a point that not a single old part is there, earlier part is there, and all parts are replaced by new one over a period of time. So will the ship be new or old? Now some people are claiming that it is new because not a single old part is there. But some people might claim it is old. Why? Because the first part that you replace has now become old, or you have simply replaced the part, but the arrangement between the part is old. It has remained the same, right? So some people might claim it is new, some people might claim it is old. Now, those who claim it is old, there is a twist in this experiment. Imagine that the part that you discarded, old parts, someone carefully collected all the parts. And once that person gets all the parts, he creates the ship again. Now, which one is original? Yes. Is this the rebuilt ship is original or the one where you replaced all the old parts by new one is original? Which one you can claim? Is it not tricky? Now, exactly same thing happens with our life. For example, you might have seen your photographs that were taken when you were a baby. So 6 months old, 1 year old. Have you come across such photographs of yours? Yes. Now my question is there similarity between that you and now who you are? Is there any similarity? Is there any old self that is left within you that was there when you were 1 year old? कुछ similarity है क्या? No, there is nothing. Entire body had changed. Your mind is not same, right? Now imagine a scenario 40 years down the line. Ask say 40 years. You'll be 60 plus around, right? So will there be any similarity between 60 plus years old you and 1 year old you? No. But still, you'll show the photograph to your children or grandchildren and you'll claim that this is me. How? How you are that 1 year old? Who tells you that you are that person 1 year old? Because there is nothing to prove except that photograph. You'll tell me this are memory, right? But don't you think even memories are fragile? If something happens tomorrow, you receive head injuries and all your memories are wiped out. You don't even know who you are. Is your existence gone then? Yes, if your memory is washed out or wiped out, would you believe that you had no existence whatsoever? Not possible, right? You'll still claim that you exist, even though you don't know who you are. Who are your parents, siblings, relatives? If all those memories are gone and nobody's around to revive them, still you'll claim that you are someone, even though your body changing, your memory is gone, undergone. अच्छा आप मुझे बताओ, do we remember everything that happened in our life? Yes. मानो आपका लाइफ 20 प्लस है, डू यू रिमेम्बर एवरीथिंग? नहीं ना. So how would you know that those things happen in life which you don't remember? You can't claim them, right? That part is gone forever. फिर भी आप कहते हो मैंने 20 प्लस ईयर्स का लाइफ जिया है एंड आई हैव एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ 20 प्लस ईयर्स. कैसे? मेमोरी इज फ्रेजाइल. हाउ डू यू नो you are the real being who was born? You are changing every moment, right? So this raises a big question mark about our existence. Then there is another experiment in Indian philosophy. इसको कहते हैं dreams. Okay, so all of us experience dream, right? And most of the time dreams are logical, means they are reflection of the reality that we live or the world in which we live. But sometimes have you experienced that dreams are illogical? Yes. Have you ever experienced this thing that dreams are illogical? Yes. Sometimes in your mind you see those things or those faces which you haven't seen so far. So for example, you come across such a person in your dream who you don't know and haven't seen even once. So how come such face appear in your dream which you don't know who that person is or whether he or she really exists or not? कैसे? Because your mind is capable of creating those faces. Are you getting the point? Okay, have you experienced deja vu कभी कभी? Yes. deja vu का मतलब मालूम है आपको? कभी कभी ऐसा लगता है कि ये चीज पहली बार नहीं हुई है, पहले हुई है एंड आई एम एक्सपीरियंसिंग द सेम थिंग अगेन. जैसे इस जगह पहले आया हूं, इवन इफ इट इज नॉट ट्रू, यू फील दैट वे. ये कैसे होता है? यस. इज इट नॉट योर माइंड capable of creating such experiences or feeling or such knowledge or awareness which you haven't had before? Are you getting the point? है ना? अच्छा, ड्रीम का एक्सपेरिमेंट मैं आपको बताता हूँ. ओके, आई फॉरगॉट द एक्सपेरिमेंट. ऐसा एक्सपेरिमेंट है, हाइपोथेटिकल है, ठीक है, इमेजिनरी. इमेजिन करो कि आपको एक ऐसा ड्रीम आ रहा है जो लंबा है. ओके, इट स्टार्ट्स एज सुन एज यू स्लीप and it continues till you wake up, and the events in dreams are consistent one after the other, the way events happen in our conscious part or awakened part. ठीक है. अब क्या होता है, नेक्स्ट दिन जब आप सोते हो तो कल जहां खत्म हुआ वहां ड्रीम फिर से शुरू हो रहा है. आर यू गेटिंग द पॉइंट? द ड्रीम इज बिगिनिंग अगेन एंड वेयर इट स्टार्ट्स, वेयर इट एंडेड यस्टरडे, लाइक द वे इट हैपेंस इन आवर रियल लाइफ. जहां आज हमारा दिन खत्म हुआ वहां कल शुरू होता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू स्लेप्ट इन अ बेड, टुमारो यू वेकअप इन द सेम बेड. है ना? ऐसा नहीं होता ना आप बस स्टैंड पे वेकअप हो रहे हो या किसी पहाड़ पे वेकअप हो रहे हो. लॉजिकल है ना ये? हाँ। सो अगर ऐसा हो रहा है, इतना बड़ा ड्रीम है, कंसिस्टेंट है एंड एवरीडे कंटिन्यू हो रहा है, विल यू बी एबल टू डिफरेंशिएट रियलिटी फ्रॉम ड्रीम? क्या लगता है आपको? इफ इट हैपन्स विथ यू, will you be able to experience reality from the dream? Hmm. Because dreams are as consistent as reality. समझ में आ रहा है? हाँ। अच्छा, ये आपको मालूम है क्या, ड्रीम में टाइम बहुत बार रिलेटिव होता है? हाँ। मेनी थिंग्स हैपन इन ड्रीम, बट एक्चुअल टाइम टेकन इज लेस। अच्छा, ये भी आपने सुना होगा, टाइम टाइम इज रिलेटिव एंड इट इज अ मेंटल क्रिएशन। फिलोसॉफी क्लेम्स दैट टाइम डिपेंड्स ऑन माइंड और मेमोरी। So what is time actually? It is a interval between two events, but in order to make sense of that event, you need to remember those two events. Yeah, in order to make sense of that interval, you need to remember those two events. But imagine hypothetically that you can't have any memory, that your memory vanish as soon as they're formed. Will you be able to make sense of any time? Yes, guys. अगर आपके साथ ऐसा कंडीशन हो रहा है that you can't have any memory whatsoever, even for a few moments, will you be able to make sense of time? No, not possible, right? Because in order to make sense of time, you need to have memories. Are you getting the point? हाँ। तो ये जो है एक्सपेरिमेंट, इट रेजेस अ बिग क्वेश्चन मार्क अबाउट आवर एग्जिस्टेंस, है ना? Some philosopher claim, particularly in Indian philosophy, that this real world which you claim to be real is not real. It is an illusion, maya. It is like a dream-like world. And when you have enlightened, you wake up from the dream. Is that clear? Okay, I'll tell you that interesting movie you might have seen. Avatar first. Yeah, Matrix is based on David Hume's brain in vat theory. Matrix अगर आपने देखा होगा कीनू रीव का, तो उस मूवी में ऐसा दिखाया है दैट एआई डेवलप सेल्फ कॉन्शियसनेस एंड it defeats human beings, and then the human beings scorch the entire earth. They want to deprive the machines from solar light or solar energy. Then machines start harvesting the human being itself, and they keep human beings plugged to the machine and feed them the virtual world as real world, है ना? And most of the human beings don't know that they are plugged to machine. So this is based on David Hume's concept, brain in vat theory, right? हाँ। अवतार आपने देखा है? अवतार पार्ट फर्स्ट एनिमेशन सिनेमा? यस, आपने देखा होगा ना? तो उसमें वो जो प्रोटैगनिस्ट है, मेन हीरो, है ना, एक्चुअल में वो अपाहिज है, ही इज डिसेबल्ड गाय, बट व्हेन ही गेट्स अवतार बॉडी, he has to do a particular task and record video blog every day. So in one of the video blogs he mentioned that he's spending so much time in avatar body. Now he has started feeling that his avatar body is real one and his real body is a fake one or artificial one. So is it true that for some people, when they spend time on something too much, they get too much involved in that thing, they lose the sense of identity? समझ में आ रहा है आपको मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ? Yes, their identity undergoes a tremendous transformation. It is the effect of mind, है ना? हाँ। Yes. अच्छा, सेकंड जो ब्रांच है एपिस्टेमोलॉजी, इट डील्स विद द सिस्टमैटिक स्टडी ऑफ नॉलेज. सो इन एवरी ब्रांच और इन एवरी field or every subject, new knowledge is created. That is why every subject has its own epistemology. In Marathi we call it Jnana Shastra. So here they try to investigate the true nature of knowledge. For example, how would you differentiate between information and knowledge? How would you know that what you have is not information and knowledge? The way philosophy defines, I'll let you know, that philosophy defines knowledge as justified true beliefs. ये तीन एलिमेंट होने चाहिए, जस्टिफिकेशन, ट्रुथ एंड बिलीफ. पहले बिलीफ होना चाहिए दैट व्हाट यू हैव इज नॉलेज एंड नॉट मियर इंफॉर्मेशन. और वो बिलीफ ट्रुथ में ट्रुथफुल होना चाहिए, दैट देयर मस्ट बी सम ट्रुथ इनटू योर बिलीफ, एंड इफ समवन चैलेंजेस यू, यू शुड बी एबल टू प्रूव इट. For example, if I believe that an elephant has got wings and he flies over Himalaya, would you call it knowledge? Yes. If I claim that an elephant has got wings and he flies over Himalaya, would you call it knowledge? No, because even though it is my belief, it is not truth. And if you challenge me, I will not be able to prove it. Right? So this is what differentiate between information you have about a particular disease and knowledge a particular doctor has about the same disease, even though the amount of information that both of you possess is same. But information possessed by doctor is not information, actually that is a knowledge. But your information is mere information, it is not knowledge. अच्छा आपको ये भी मालूम है that there is a difference between knowledge and understanding. Knowledge is not equal to understanding. So have you seen some people who know a lot, but they understand little? Yes. And in this examination of UPSC, MPSC, they don't merely check your knowledge, they check the depth of understanding. So how do you define understanding and how do you differentiate between knowledge? Yes. How would you differentiate these two things, knowledge versus understanding? Okay, I'll tell you. Understanding is nothing but the correct connection between old knowledge and new knowledge. Okay, you already have some basic old knowledge, you receive new knowledge, and in order to make sense of that new knowledge, you try to connect that new knowledge between old, and when that connection is correctly established, you understand something. Okay, I'll give you an example, a very crude and simple example. Suppose you have old knowledge that you are standing in the middle of a highway. Okay, so this is old knowledge. You are aware that you're standing in the middle of a highway. You get new knowledge that a vehicle is coming towards you at a very high speed. What do you understand? Yes. क्या पता चला आपको इससे? What do you understand through this? That old knowledge that you are in the middle of a highway. New knowledge is a vehicle is coming at a very high speed towards you. What do you understand? Correct. You understand that if you don't get aside, there will be accident, right? Huh. So how did you come to know this? How did you understand this? You made a connection between what you knew already and what came new to you. You made a connection. Okay, let's take another example. Now, most of you know that any graduate between the age group of 21 to 32, if he hasn't given any attempt, he is eligible for UPSC exam or MPSC exam. Is this known to you? ये आपको मालूम होगा ना, fair awareness, right? हाँ. Now one person comes around and he tells you that he's a graduate, but he hasn't completed 20 years. What do you understand then? Yes. Correct. You understand that he can't appear for exam or he's not eligible. So how did you understand? You made a connection between old knowledge and new knowledge. Right? So in this exam, okay, what you study first, books, your newspaper, your magazines, your references. This is old knowledge. The question given to you is a new knowledge. And you should be able to make correct connection between question and what you have studied. And through that connection, you should be able to explain the answer. And that's how they check your depth of understanding. Is that clear? Because without that understanding, you will not be able to work in real job. Now, how to establish this connection between old knowledge and new knowledge correctly is told us or taught us is by logic. So logic is a systematic study of arguments. So whatever we try to prove in philosophy is through arguments. But how to make correct argument, you learn that in logic. And Aristotle is the founding father of logic. So have you understood definition of logic? Systematic study of arguments. Now, not all people know how to argue correctly. Sometimes they end up drawing incorrect conclusions. So, have you heard about something known as syllogisms? Yes. आपने सिलोजिज्म के बारे में सुना है? जहाँ आपको ऐसे स्टेटमेंट होते हैं दैट ऑल कैट्स आर डॉग्स, ऑल डॉग्स आर बुक्स, सम बुक्स आर बर्ड्स, एंड फ्रॉम दो स्टेटमेंट्स यू नीड टू ड्रॉ करेक्ट कंक्लूजन, वैलिड कंक्लूजन, राइट? अब इसमें जो प्रोसेस इन्वॉल्व होता है विच इज इन्वॉल्व इन ड्रॉइंग करेक्ट कंक्लूजन, उसको हम कहते हैं लॉजिकल रीजनिंग. Okay, but not all people know what is logical reasoning and what is the correct process. That's why they commit logical fallacies. Okay, and these logical fallacies we are going to study in essay writing, because even in essay you need to argue correctly and argue well. So one logical fallacy I'll tell you. Okay, इसको कहते हैं post hoc fallacy और irrelevant conclusion fallacy. ठीक है, इसमें क्या होता है I'll tell you. Two events happen one after the other. Okay, two events happen one after the other, and many people believe that second event is caused by first, but it is not always true. Are you getting the point? कभी कभी क्या होता है, two events happen one after the other and many people erroneously believe that second event is caused by first one. I'll give an example. Okay, you prayed to the god for son and you had son. In Marathi we call it नवस केला आणि मुलगा झाला. Do you understand this? Yes. You prayed to the god for son and you had son. Now to believe that you had son because you prayed to the god is a logical fallacy, because correlation is always not a causation. Are you getting the point? Because two things happen one after the other doesn't mean that first thing is a cause of second thing. Not always. In old days, people had such belief about eclipse. It is post hoc fallacy or irrelevant conclusion fallacy. Are you getting the point? People in old days had many beliefs about eclipse. Those are the classic example of this fallacy. So many superstitions are rooted in this fallacy, right? For example, अमावस्या होती म्हणून ऍक्सिडेंट झाला. Do you understand this? Yes. So both things are true, but they not necessarily have connection. So logic tells you. That is why you know logic, because it provides method for correct conclusion. It is also known as science of science. Logic को और भी क्या कहते हैं? It is also known as science of science, and its founding father is Aristotle. Now these three branches of philosophy, they together investigate what is truth. But merely knowing truth doesn't make you wise. You also need to know what is good and what is beautiful, right? And that is done by fourth branch, that is known as axiology. And axiology has got two branches, write their name, ethics and aesthetic. So when you try to, axiology का definition पहले लिख लो. Axiology का मतलब है systematic study of values or worth. Systematic study of values or worth. So when you try to find what is worth in material things, you have a branch known as aesthetics, जिसको हम मराठी में कहते हैं सौंदर्य शास्त्र. So what we do in aesthetic is we try to study fine arts like painting, sculpturing, music, right? But ethics deals with what is worth or valuable in human life. So ethics is also known as science of living well. So write down this definition of ethics. Okay, so ethics का मतलब क्या है? Science of living well. Okay, it tells us how to live a good life. Are you getting the point? Yes. Now the way it does, it has four branches. So first branch is meta-ethics. Meta का मतलब same ही है, to go beyond. So meta-ethics का मतलब है to go beyond ethics and investigate the concepts used in ethics. So for example, ethics itself is a concept, वैल्यू इज अनदर कॉन्सेप्ट, जस्टिस इज अनदर, मोरालिटी। इसका ट्रू नेचर क्या है ये आपको अगर समझना है तो मेटाएथिक्स की जरूरत है। देन कम सेकंड ब्रांच नोन एज डिस्क्रिप्टिव एथिक्स। डिस्क्रिप्टिव एथिक्स इज मोर अबाउट डिस्क्राइबिंग द मोरल नॉर्म्स ऑफ द सोसाइटी। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इन इंडियन सोसाइटी प्री मैरिटल सेक्स is considered unethical. Saying this statement is describing morality of Indian society. So in this particular branch, you don't take a stand and try to defend it. You simply describe the moral norms of the society, any society. Then next branch is normative ethics. What happens in normative is it tries to provide you norms of ideal conduct. The word normative comes from the norms. In Marathi, we call it Adarshatmak Niti Shastra. So what we try to do in normative ethics, we don't focus on what is aspect. We more focus on what should be aspect. So whether premarital sex should be ethical or not, ये debate जो है ये normative ethics का है, because we are focused on ought to be or should aspect, क्या होना चाहिए. So in this particular branch of ethics, we are going to study thinkers and their theories. And once you have these thinkers and theories, and when you apply them in a particular field of human life, you have applied ethics. So for example, you might have heard about medical ethics, environmental ethics, sports ethics, or animal ethics, business ethics, administrative ethics, that is for you. So these different branches of ethics are nothing but the application of what we learn in normative ethics in particular human areas. So together these four things you are going to study in ethics, but most of our syllabus is focused on normative ethics, almost 70%, and rest of the 30% will be on other three part. Okay, so primacy will be given to thinkers, their theories, and then their application. But again, nonetheless, we'll start from concept first. So we'll start from metaethics first. Okay. Any questions so far about what we discussed? Have you understood this? That what are the different branches of philosophy, what is philosophy, and from where ethics comes into existence, and what are the different branches of ethics, and how should we look at the ethics as a part of philosophy? Yes. Applied ethics is the application of principles of normative ethics in particular areas of human life. I just repeated what is applied ethics. Applied ethics is nothing but that ethics which tries to address the concerns of particular human life or areas of human life. जैसे बिजनेस के कंसर्न क्या है ना, एनवायरमेंट के कंसर्न क्या है, इथिकल कंसर्न्स, एनिमल्स के रिलेटेड कंसर्न क्या है, मेडिकल फील्ड के इथिकल कंसर्न क्या है, इनको एड्रेस करने का काम अप्लाइड एथिक्स करता है. But for that we use the theories and principles and values we learned in normative ethics. So mainly thinkers. So thinkers are covered in normative ethics and their application is covered in applied ethics. Even your civil services ethics is applied ethics. It is not core ethics. Is that clear? Correct. Now, let's move ahead and try to summarize what is philosophy that we discussed. So one thing that we learned while discussing philosophy and its branches, that philosophy is nothing but study of reality underlying the world. So what we perceive, what we experience, we don't assume automatically that it is truth. We go beyond it, right? It is an inclusive perspective because we think from all sides. We even investigate the mind, which helps us to gain the knowledge and develop understanding. So nothing is left in philosophy. Philosophy investigates everything. That is why it is inclusive perspective. Then third, it is a consistent attempt to think logically. So how do we do in philosophy? By using logic. है ना, जो भी आपको कंक्लूजन निकालना है उसका प्रोसेस करेक्ट होना चाहिए. एंड हु टेल्स यू दैट प्रोसेस? Logic, a systematic study of arguments. Then it is also science that brings coordination in different conclusion of other sciences. So sometimes different subjects or sciences, They study same thing, but they draw different conclusions. So philosophy has an ability to find common thread between these different conclusions. So it brings about coordination between them. Then this one is important, mother of all sciences, because all these sciences were earlier part of philosophy. So you might have heard that Aristotle studied almost everything under the sky. So he studied zoology, he studied botany, he studied medicine, he studied political science, he studied mathematics. Similarly, you might have heard that Pythagoras wasn't just a geometrician, he was also a philosopher, and there was a sect named after him. है ना? So earlier these all sciences were part of philosophy, but as they grew up, they became independent subject. And finally, it is a conceptual engineering. So concepts that are needed to make sense of reality around us are supplied by philosophy. So that is why most of the scholars that we cross the established boundaries of the subjects and contribute to it, they are known as PhD holders. Are you getting the point? Yes. What they actually do by creating new knowledge, they are creating conceptual engineering. So philosophy helps you to create concepts to make sense of the world. So are these all attributes clear to you as far as philosophy is concerned? Any questions so far about what we discussed? Did you understand hypothetical experiments? देखो एक चीज ध्यान में रखो, philosophy has potential to challenge our beliefs, to challenge our assumptions. जिसको हम बिलीव करते हैं उसको क्रिटिकल एग्जामिनेशन कैसे करना है ये आपको फिलॉसफी बता दी है ना. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द एट्रीब्यूट्स ऑफ फिलॉसफी that are also applicable to our subject known as moral philosophy, and this entire material will be there in the notes. Okay, essence of ethics. Now we have studied ethics, उसका etymological origin कहाँ से आता है ये. In last lecture we saw that ethics comes from the word ethos, and ethos का मतलब है custom, traditions, ways of behavior. So when we critically examine custom and tradition, we indulge into ethics. That was the literal meaning we saw. Then we also saw that it is a philosophy and it arises from philosophy. It is also known as moral philosophy. Then we also saw what is philosophy, its different branches, and what are the attributes of philosophy. And now we are going to discuss essence of ethics. Okay, so write down all these definitions that are important to you. First definition is a literal meaning that we discussed in the last lecture, that evaluation of customs and traditions mean ethics. But ethics also means study of good or right behavior. Now there is a thin line which separates good from right. They are not synonymous. Okay, I'll give you one example. What is right is what is minimum expected from you. But good means going beyond right and doing something additional. Okay, I'll give you an example. Suppose you and your friends are celebrating picnic in a park, and at the end of it, there is some garbage created. Now, when you put that garbage into a dustbin, that is a right behavior. But when you put garbage created by others also in the dustbin, that is not merely right behavior, that is good behavior. Have you understood this distinction? Because you did something beyond what is minimum expected, and that it is not right, it is good. Is this distinction clear to you? Right. So ये thin line आपको समझ में आनी चाहिए. Then ethics also means investigation of ideals or what should be there. So in ethics, we are not content with what is there. We always think about what should be there. And that is why ethics is dynamic field. It is ever evolving field. Because what should be there is never a consistent or constant one. Sometimes it changes. Right? And finally, it is a normative science of human behavior. that evaluates human action as right or wrong, good or bad. So इसको हम क्या कहते हैं? Normative science, है ना? Prescriptive, you can also say prescriptive. Normative and prescriptive, these are similar words. जो ह्यूमन एक्शन को बता रहा है कि ये सही है या गलत, अच्छी है या बुरी. So these are the some of the points which explain the essence of ethics. So whenever tomorrow you are defining ethics, you have to keep all these points at the back of mind when writing definition of ethics. Is this clear? Yes, guys. I hope. I'm not trying to go deep in philosophy because sometimes it is too abstract, and that is why not all people can process what we have been saying. Okay, this another thing which is often asked by people, that what is difference between ethics and morality? That we'll discuss first. Okay, so there are two major differences between ethics and morality. Morality is more concerned with individual's conception of right and wrong. Okay, so what is understood by individual as right and wrong is considered his or her morality. Okay, but when a group defines right and wrong, it is not morality, it is ethics. So are you getting the point here? Yes. Major difference is this, that individual's conception of right and wrong is termed as morality, while group's conception of right and wrong is termed as ethics. Second distinction is morality has direct impact on human action. They directly deal with human action. But ethics doesn't directly deal with human action. It indirectly deals with human action because ethics first creates laws and norms, and they in turn control the human behavior or influence human action. So the influence of ethics on human action is indirect, while influence of morality on human action is direct. So this is second difference. But now this last point is important. Sometimes these two words are used interchangeably or synonymously. तो मैं आपको मराठी में थोड़ा सा बताता हूँ, ठीक है? एथिक्स ये जो वर्ड है, इसके दो मराठी मतलब होते हैं. एक मतलब है इट इज अ सब्जेक्ट, व्हाट वी कॉल इन मराठी नीति शास्त्र. बट इसका और एक मतलब है दैट इज नैतिकता, जिसको मोरालिटी भी कहते हैं. बट ये जो वर्ड मोरालिटी है, इसका एक ही मतलब है, नैतिकता. सो व्हेन यू आर यूजिंग any word of these two in the sense of naitikta, you can use them synonymously. But when you are using it as a subject, you cannot use morality, you have to use ethics. So यहाँ example देखो synonymously use करने का. Constitutional morality as well as personal ethics is one and same, because ethics and morality here mean the same, that is naitikta. संवैधानिक नैतिकता, वैयक्तिक नैतिकता. Here personal ethics doesn't mean वैयक्तिक नीति शास्त्र, that is a wrong use. Is that clear? So a distinction clear हो गया आपको? Yes. Great. Now let's move ahead. Next point in our today's discussion is determinants of ethics. So write down what is determinant. The factors that influence our decisions about what is right or wrong are determinants. Okay. Now these determinants are concerned as far as ethics as a subject is concerned. Okay, so ethics as a subject gives more importance to these three factors as determinants of ethics. So first is write down consequences. तो ethics कहता है consequences देखो और फिर डिसाइड करो right क्या है, wrong क्या है, सही क्या है, गलत क्या है. Second determinant कहता है कि intention भी देखो, that it is not enough to look at the consequences, you also have to see that with what intention a person is performing a particular action. While third determinant says mere consequences and intention are not enough, sometimes situation is a deciding factor. Now the way these determinants develop further and give us theories and thought, schools of thoughts, leads to different dimensions, and that is very interesting to see, because that will give you also a blueprint or roadmap that how we are going to cover the thinkers. So is this clear, the role of determinants in our further studies and debate? These determinants are going to give us certain dimensions of ethics. And these dimensions are going to help us make ethical inquiry in different examples and current events and cases. Okay, so let's go for dimensions of ethics. So have you understood determinants of ethics? Yes. Yes, सबको समझ में आ गया है क्या? Okay, good. Now take your page of the notebook, hold it in horizontal direction, and write at the top dimensions of ethics 1, because we are now going to draw a flow chart. And once that flow chart is complete, let me know, we'll start the discussion. So have you written dimension of ethics at the top of the page in horizontal direction? Landscape format. Okay, now let's go for this flow chart. Please draw this flow chart and we'll start the discussion. Once you complete the flow chart, please let me know in chat box that you have done and we'll begin. Done? Good. Now see the logic here. Okay. First comes your determinants. Second comes school of thought out of these determinants. Third comes a theory out of the school of thought, and this theory gives us dimensions. So at the top there are determinants, at the bottom there are dimensions of ethics. अब ये कैसे आता है? Let's look at first one, consequence. So the school of thought which emerges from this determinant is consequentialism, and it tells you that the moral worth or the ethical uh, evaluation of the action should be based on consequences. Now, while telling you this, it believes certain things, it assumes certain things. For example, one thing it assumes that a person is capable of predicting the consequences. So you can envision what will happen before it happens, and then you can decide whether it should happen or not, and then you decide whether you should go for a particular human action or not. Second assumption that consequentialism has is that every person knows what is good for oneself. So you need not tell other person that this is good and bad. Let people decide it. So based on these two assumptions, consequentialism lies. And when you look at consequences in terms of utility or happiness or pleasure, you get a theory known as utilitarianism. Now, in utilitarianism, there are two main thinkers that we are going to study. One is Jeremy Bentham, and second is John Stuart Mill, J.S. Mill. And once you study these two thinkers in utilitarianism, you get certain dimensions. For example, Bentham gives you the dimension of common welfare, which he calls maximum happiness for maximum number of people. While propounding same principle, J.S. Mill also gives us the dimension of democracy. So once you study this school of thought and theory, you'll get this dimension. And you can use this dimension to make a judgment on the moral worth of an action. But there is another group. This tells you that merely looking at consequences is not enough. What you look at is intention. And now which intention that you discover in deontology? ये जो word है deonto in deontology, इसका मतलब है duty. And duty has connection with intention. Now, this group known as deontology and this group known as consequentialism, these are rival groups and they criticize each other. ओके इसको बहुत बार हम एंड्स एंड मीन्स डिबेट भी कहते हैं बिकॉज कॉन्सिक्वेंशियलिज्म इज मोर अबाउट कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस मतलब फाइनल एंड और आउटकम while this intention group deals with means. So ends and means का debate है. Deontologists claim that they criticize consequentialists by saying that we cannot always control consequences. Is it true? Yes. What do you believe, online people? कि हमेशा हम कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस को कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. बहुत बार हम करने जाते हैं एक और हो जाता है दूसरा. हाँ. So if consequences are not within your control, how you are responsible for consequences? Then you should focus on what is in your control. So according to this group, intention is in your control and you should focus on it. But being rival, consequentialists also criticize deontologists by saying that you say that intention should be given importance as far as moral worth of an action, but can you objectively decide someone's intention? Yes. Can you figure out someone's intention behind a particular action objectively? Tell me. Is it possible to decide someone's intention? What was his or her intention? Sometimes people claim otherwise, right? है ना, जब भी उनके हाथ से गलती हो जाती है वो ऐसा क्लेम करते ना मेरा इंटेंशन तो अच्छा था. हाँ. So how would you decide objectively that their intention was ethical or not? People may claim their intention was ethical even though bad things happened. हाँ. तो डिओन्टोलॉजिस्ट फिर इनको क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं कॉन्सिक्वेंशियलिस्ट को. वो कहते हैं कि आप जो कहते हो एवरी पर्सन नोज व्हाट इज गुड फॉर वन सेल्फ, इज इट ऑलवेज ट्रू अ पर्सन नोज व्हाट इज गुड फॉर वन सेल्फ? यस. क्या लगता है आपको, ऑनलाइन पीपल, डू यू रियली बिलीव दैट पीपल नो व्हाट इज गुड फॉर वन सेल्फ? Not all the time. Sometimes they are mistaken, right? But consequentialists also, attack deontologists by saying that these deontologists believe that intention has a key role. और वो reply consequentialists को ये देते हैं कि that other people should not know intention. Only the person who is performing an action should know intention. क्योंकि इनका ये मानना है कि मोरालिटी आप बाहर से इंपोज नहीं कर सकते. मोरालिटी हैज टू बी जनरेटेड फ्रॉम विद इन. अगर कोई बाहर से आपको बता रहा है और फिर आप एक्सेप्ट कर वैसे कर रहे हो, देन इट इज नॉट मोरल अकॉर्डिंग टू डिओन्टोलॉजिस्ट. सो ये जो डिओन्टोलॉजिस्ट का ग्रुप है, इनका ये मानना है कि मोरालिटी बाहर से नहीं आती, वो अंदर से आती है. इट इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ योर रीजनिंग एबिलिटी. यू डिसाइड ऑन योर ओन, है ना. लेकिन कॉन्सिक्वेंटली इनके ऊपर भी अटैक करते हैं कि ये जो बिलीव करते हैं कि एवरी पर्सन इज रैशनल बीइंग, वो कहते हैं कि इज इट ऑलवेज ट्रू दैट ऑल पीपल आर रैशनल बीइंग्स एंड दे आर केपेबल ऑफ जनरेटिंग मोरालिटी फॉर देमसेल्व्स? क्या लगता है आपको, ऑनलाइन पीपल? इज इट ट्रू दैट ऑल पीपल आर रैशनल बीइंग्स एंड केपेबल ऑफ जनरेटिंग मोरालिटी फॉर देमसेल्व्स? Not at all. So these rival groups keep attacking each other even today. So when you study deontology, you will find one important theory in deontology. Its name is categorical imperative. And one of the main proponent of categorical imperative is Immanuel Kant. And when you study Immanuel Kant, you get a dimension known as rights or human rights. But you need another thinker as well. His name is John Rawls. He gives us theory of justice and we discover another dimension known as justice, or particularly distributive justice. So these two dimensions, rights and justice, are more intimately connected with the determinant known as intention. But now there is another group situation, and what is curious about this group, that this group is ancient one, and this group claims that situation is also an important factor, and sometimes it is the most important factor, because sometimes even if consequences are same, intention is same, but different situation may lead to different evaluation of human action. So I'll give an example. Okay, John Rawls. Yes, Rashmi. uh, okay, I'll give an example. So robbery or stealing. Okay, so do you believe that consequences of stealing are bad or unethical? Yes. Chori karna, do you believe that the consequences of stealing are bad? Yes. Do you also believe that the intention is also bad or unethical? Because when you steal something, you want to profit yourself at the cost of others. Yes. Even the intention is not ethical. But look at different situations now. Okay. In one situation, a person is already well off, but in order to become more rich, okay, he is committing corruption, or he is stealing others' money. In another case, second case, a person is hungry for 6 days, and out of desperation, he is stealing food on seventh day. Now, my question is, will you look at these both cases with the same perspective? Yes. क्या लगता है आपको? Will you look at these both cases with same perspective? Not at all. Differently. क्यों? Because situation, right? Then how will you decide how to deal with which case and how? It will depend on virtues, right? In first case, you may say that the person should be punished because he has no need to do such thing. But in second case, you may take a compassionate view. Instead of punishing the second person or person in second case, you might think about helping the person so that he won't have to steal the food. अब ये कैसे डिसाइड हो रहा है? Based on virtues. So this school of thought known as virtue ethics claims that you should look up to virtuous people. It calls them moral exemplars or role models. Okay. If you look at virtuous people and how do they conduct themselves or behave in a particular situation, their action or their behavior in a given situation becomes role model for you. It becomes a standard for you, and you have to follow the same standard. So one of the important thinkers in virtue ethics is Aristotle's virtue ethics. But you can't study Aristotle in isolation. You need Plato, because Aristotle gives his theory in criticism to Plato's. And Plato को पढ़ना है तो Socrates आ जाता है. So these three thinkers we are going to study in virtue ethics. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. So altogether we'll study 7 thinkers. Once you study Aristotle, you have these dimensions. Okay, first is golden mean. ये कॉन्सेप्ट अब ये आपको समझ में नहीं आएगा, गोल्डन मीन का मतलब क्या है. वी नीड टू स्टडी एरिस्टोटल. Then virtues, vices, and eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is a Greek word, and it doesn't have exact similar word in English or Marathi, but its loose translation is, or close translation is, human flourishment or maximization of human virtues or potential. So eudaimonia का मतलब समझ में आ गया आपको? Yes, people. Eudaimonia मतलब human flourishment or maximum development of human potential or virtues, जिसको हम कभी कभी सेल्फ एक्चुअलाइजेशन भी कहते हैं. Right. So these are some of the dimensions that you get when you study different thinkers. And these dimensions and determinants act as a lenses through which you can make ethical inquiry into current events. Now this is important. Okay, ये going ahead आपको कैसे help करने वाले हैं? These three determinants and dimensions that we get. These act as lenses. In Marathi, we call it chashma, through which you can look at the current event and decide whether they are ethically right or wrong. For example, some laws are in news, some events are in news, some decisions are taken by government, something is happening internationally, nationally, right? So you want to make ethical inquiry. You want to evaluate these things ethically, whether they are right or wrong, ethical or unethical. So these different things will help you. For example, if you are looking at consequences, look at in terms of how it is affecting common welfare and democratic discourse. Or if you're looking at intention, look in terms of rights and justice, that whether it is upholding someone's human rights or violating it, whether it is giving justice to someone or doing injustice to someone. Then in situation you would ask that whether it is achieving golden mean, whether people are becoming virtuous or vicious, or whether they are helping people to achieve flourishment. So these different theories, thinkers, determinants, their dimension in a way help us to process current affair from ethics perspective. अब ये एग्जैक्टली कैसे करना है ये आपको बाद में पता चलेगा व्हेन विल टेक अप द थिंकर्स फॉर फर्दर डिस्कशन एंड स्टडीज. इज दिस क्लियर सो फार? Yes, have you understood this dimension of ethics 1? This is important. Okay, any questions so far about dimension of ethics 1, determinants, ethics and versus morality? Anything you haven't understood, have doubt? Yes. All right. Shall we move to second dimension? Okay, let's move. Please draw this diagram. No, in MPSC, there was this direct question on essence, dimensions, and determinants. But in UPSC, it is rarely asked. Okay, mostly UPSC is focused on thinkers and the application of their theories. But MPSC being straightforward exam, sometimes they directly ask you question on determinants, dimensions, or essence. So please draw this diagram. Done? Great. Now, what does this dimension of ethics 2 tells you? That in human life, we have three distinct spheres: personal, professional, and social. And each of these spheres have their own set of values. So can you tell me some of the values which belong to different sphere? For example, in personal sphere, people have values like cleanliness, thriftiness, or compassion, respecting elders, or you can say uh, helping others, doing charity, right? Correct. Spirituality, taking care of animals, taking care of children, looking after family, right? Or pursuing certain hobbies. These are personal things, right? In professional world, what are the values that are practiced? accountability, transparency, objectivity, impartiality, justice, right? है ना? और पंक्चुअलिटी है, प्रोडक्टिविटी है, इनोवेशन है, इनिशिएटिव टेकिंग है, ऑनेस्टी है, यस, बीइंग रिस्पेक्टफुल है ना? What about social sphere? What are the values that you come across in social sphere? Yes. Equality, equity, justice, fraternity, liberty, tolerance, honesty, cooperation, compassion, taking care of vulnerable people, right? है ना? Yes. Now there are certain values which belongs to all three spheres, and these are also known as what? Core human values. ये जो common area है pointed किया हुआ, ये core human values का है. So can you tell me some core human values which belong to all these three spheres? Yes. Honesty. Do you agree that it belongs to all three areas? Yes. Even justice. Justice belongs to all three areas, right? Or taking care of vulnerable people. For example, in family, we give priority to children and old age people, right? In professional world, powerful people should take care of people at the bottom. In social world also, vulnerable sections or weaker sections are given primacy compared to powerful sections, right? So what are the guidelines that are going to help you to deliver ethical evaluation or judgment? Okay. Okay, first guideline, write down. These are important and written nowhere. Okay. First guideline is minimum or smaller mistakes or minor lapses are allowed. Okay, smaller mistakes or minor lapses are allowed, but one should not violate core human values. Have you written this guideline? Guideline given by Dimension of Ethics 2. It tells you that minor lapses or minor mistakes are allowed, but one should not violate core human values. So what is assumed here? Yes, when this guideline is given, what is assumed? It is assumed that nobody is perfect. People, one way or other way, sometimes commit mistake. But these mistakes should not be so serious that they violate core human values. Okay, I'll give an example. You'll understand. Imagine that you are an employee working in a multinational company and you are given your own workplace, whether cubicle or table or cabin. And you are someone who doesn't keep one's own things in an organized manner. They are scattered, haywire. Sometimes you have difficulty to locate your own things or documents. Right? Have you got the scenario here? केस समझ में आ रहा है कि आप ऐसे एम्प्लॉय हो who is not organized. But does that make you unethical? Yes. If you are not well organized, does it mean you are unethical? No. But if you are always lying to your superiors or boss, then if you are always lying to your boss or superior, then it is not ethical because it is violation of core human values. Is that clear? So minor lapses are allowed, but you should not violate core human values. Okay, take another second guideline. Second guideline is write down, a person should not be a complete failure or should not have serious defects in any one of these spheres. A person should not be a complete failure or should not have any serious defect in any one of these spheres. because eventually it starts affecting other sphere and violate core human values. Are you getting the point? ये second guideline समझ में आ गया आपको? Yes. That a person should not have serious defect or complete failure in any one of the sphere because eventually it starts affecting other areas. Okay, I'll give an example. ठीक है. In UPSC, there was this case study which said that you are selected as a civil servant and your on-job training is going on under a senior officer. He is very competent, knowledgeable, and he is devoted to your training, and he is also devoted to social cause. So he does everything in his capacity to train you and serve the society. Okay. One day he asks you to come his home for some official work. You take some documents and go to his home, and when you reach the home, you hear some noise, cries, or shouts. When you inquire about this to him, he doesn't give you satisfactory reply. You come back to office and you share this with your colleagues, and you are informed that your superior indulges into domestic violence. Now, how would you look at this situation? So, क्या लगता है आपको? Yes. What is your response? बताओ, प्रोफेशनल स्पीयर में कोई गड़बड़ है क्या यहाँ? Yes. Is there any problem in professional sphere or social sphere? No. But what about personal? Don't you find some serious defect in personal where a person commits domestic violence? Yes. Right? Do you agree with me? A person may be good in two spheres but bad in one sphere. अच्छा, आपने वो पंकज त्रिपाठी का क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम देखा है, वेब सीरीज? यस. और सुना है उसके बारे में? क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम के बारे में एक वेब सीरीज है, वो आप देखो अगर वक्त मिले तो. इन फर्स्ट सीजन it is about marital rape. A person can be good lawyer, good son, but he could be still abusive husband. ऐसा उसका मैसेज है ना? बहुत बार हम क्या करते हैं, एक एरिया में उसकी इमेज देख के वो दूसरे एरिया में कैसा होगा ये जज करने की कोशिश करते हैं, बट इट मे नॉट बी ऑलवेज ट्रू. और धीरे धीरे क्या हो सकता है, एक एरिया में अगर वो बैड होगा, अनइथिकल होगा, धीरे धीरे इट स्टार्ट शोविंग इन अदर एरियाज. We cannot completely separate one sphere from other. They are interconnected. Are you getting the point? और ये हमेशा चेक किया जाता है. For example, now tell me what your civil services interview all about. Is it for personal? Is it for professional? Or is it for social sphere? आपको जो सिविल सर्विसेज का इंटरव्यू होता है फाइनल राउंड, वो कौन से स्पीयर के लिए होता है आपके? मेनली किस स्पीयर के लिए? Professional, because tomorrow you are going to work as a professional. Professional is someone who works in return for money, right? But why do they check your personal dimension or personal life? For example, they ask you question like, what are your hobbies? Now, do you believe that hobbies have some connection with the job that you are going to do? Yes. Do you really believe that your hobbies have essential connection with the job that you are going to perform? Not necessarily, right? For example, you have hobby of bird watching. How is it connected with the job as a collector? Not really. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? Or the common question that is asked across the all aspirants who appear for interview is, why do you want to join civil services? Now tell me, is it not purely personal decision? Whether someone chooses civil services as career or not is purely personal choice. Why should they bother about it? आप कह सकते हो उनको कि आपको क्या करना है, इट इज माई पर्सनल थिंग. Why are you asking this question? Ask about the syllabus and job. Yes, would you say such things? Okay, they also check your social sphere. So your views towards different social issues, whether you are patriarchal, whether you are casteist, whether you are communal, whether you are parochial, ये सब चेक किया जाता है. क्यों चेक करते हैं? अच्छा, ये सिर्फ सिविल सर्विसेज में नहीं होता. इफ यू हैव वर्कड इन प्राइवेट सेक्टर, दे ऑल्सो कंडक्ट योर पर्सनल इंटरव्यू. यस, हैव यू सीन? They also check your values as a person, who you are, what kind of values you possess, है ना? आर्मी में तो you might have heard that in army, as a fresher, being single is a compulsory condition even during training. So even if you are adult and other person is ready to marry with you, still you can't marry during training. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? It is mandatory. Now tell me, is it not marriage a purely personal thing? But marriage is also commitment. If you commit in one sphere, it is going to affect in other sphere. अच्छा, आप भी मुझे बताओ, whenever you forge functional relationship in any different areas, don't you bother about how that person is personally? Even if your relationship is purely transactional or professional, still you bother about personal background, right? What kind of person you are dealing with? ये आपके मन में thought होता है क्या? Yes, even if you are entering into economic transaction or other transaction, professional transaction, होता है ना? I'll give you an example. Okay, suppose you are out there on picnic with your family, and you hire a car, you hire a driver, and you are out now. After traveling for some distance, you realize that the driver is drunk. He has, taken a liquor, but he is driving nicely. But still, will you be comfortable if he is drunk? Even though he is driving rightly, no problem. But still, when you discover when he is drunk, you won't be comfortable, right? Now, drinking liquor is purely personal thing. But does it not could take toll on your professional commitment or his or her professional commitment? Yes, it would, right? So ये हमेशा देखा जाता है, because these all spheres are interconnected. Are you getting the point here? So these are the two major guidelines you should remember, and they are often useful in dealing with case studies. Is this clear? Yes, ये जो guidelines है ये आपको case study में help करेंगी. Any question about this second dimension? Yes. Any doubt, any question? Because now we are moving towards third dimension. Have you understood this second dimension and its guideline? Guideline for ethical evaluation of human action. पहला guideline ये है, minor lapses are allowed, but one should not violate core human values. Second guideline is, one should not be complete failure or should not have serious defect in any one of the sphere, because it eventually starts affecting other spheres. अच्छा, बहुत बार केस स्टडी में भी देखा जाता है कि आप कोर ह्यूमन वैल्यूज को अपहोल्ड कर रहे हो या वायलेट कर रहे हो. Is that clear? Online people. Correct. Now let's move towards dimensions of ethics 3. This dimension is in your philosophy diagram. So please go to that diagram and draw a box around ethics and its branches. ये जो ethics है और इसके ये जो 4 branches है, इसके ऊपर बॉक्स आप ड्रॉ करो और उसको लेबल करो. These are the dimensions of ethics 3. Done? Done. Okay. Now ये जो dimension है, dimension of ethics 3, it helps you to classify the previous year questions. So जो भी PYQ आपके एग्जाम में अब तक आए हैं, उनको आप according to these branches you can classify. For example, questions that are focused on checking your conceptual clarity, they are part of meta ethics. So first step of preparation of ethics is compiling keywords that are part of ethics and PYQ, syllabus and PYQ, and defining them properly. यहां से शुरू होता है आपका. Even our basic lectures, initial basic lectures deal with meta ethics. Some questions are based on social morality that is prevalent in Indian society. So they belong to descriptive ethics. Here, cause and effect analysis is sought after. Okay, they don't want you to take a stand. They want you to describe and explain why does it happen if something happens. Then third is normative ethics, right? Where thinkers will be mainly asked their theories. You will be taking stand and justifying your stand with reference to some thinkers and their theories. And fourth category would be applied ethics, where specific question about specific field of human life will be asked. So in a way, this third dimension of ethics helps you to make sense of PYQs that are asked in ethics paper. Is that clear? Yes. So these three dimensions, in a way, they help you to make ethical inquiry and to respond to the questions that are asked in your exam, whether section A or section B. Online people, have you understood this? Great. Now, next topic that we are going to start today and continue tomorrow is consequences of ethics. So इसका title आप लिख लो. Consequences of ethics. Then we'll also discuss tomorrow what is value, what are its types, how do we define value, how it closely resembles with other things, and some approaches in ethics. That is we are going to start tomorrow. Is this clear? और ये जो टॉपिक है कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज ऑफ एथिक्स इज डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली almost every year asked in UPSC ethics paper. So any questions so far, please ask, because the time is up and tomorrow we'll continue at the same time. So feel free to ask question about what we covered today. आज के लिए एक सवाल ले सकते हो प्रैक्टिस के लिए, which was asked in MPSC ethics paper. Okay, the question is, what is essence, determinants and dimensions of ethics? Okay, or describe essence, determinants and dimensions of ethics, and answer this in 50 words. Short में देना है इसका आंसर. ठीक है. So have you written question? Yes. Explain the essence or describe the essence, determinants and dimensions of ethics. Okay, feel free to ask question, otherwise we'll call it a day and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. We'll continue. Epistemology का मतलब है ज्ञान शास्त्र, systematic study of knowledge. So in epistemology, we try to investigate whether a particular piece of information is mere information or knowledge. है ना? हाँ. सो जो भी आपको ज्ञान होता है वो सच में ज्ञान होता है कि नहीं. अब जो मैंने आपको डेफिनेशन दिया है नॉलेज का फिलोसॉफिकल, वो इनकम्प्लीट भी है. इन एक्सेप्शनल केसेस इट डजंट वर्क. द डेफिनेशन दैट आई गेव यू ऑफ नॉलेज इज जस्टिफाइड ट्रू बिलीफ्स. बट गेटियर नाम के आदमी ने एक रिसर्च ऐसे लिख के ये दिखाया कि हाउ इन सर्टेन केसेस दिस डेफिनेशन इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल. सो इट इज इवॉल्विंग डेफिनेशन, इट इज नॉट अ फुल प्रूफ डेफिनेशन. No, don't try to define dimensions, describe them. है ना? डायमेंशन का मतलब क्या होता है? Yes. Dimensions means the ways, perspectives which help you to indulge into ethical evaluation of human action. केस स्टडी के तरफ अब मत जाओ संचित। हाँ, केस स्टडी में कौन सा पर्सपेक्टिव कब यूज करना है ये आपको बाद में पता चलेगा, है ना। समटाइम्स यू हैव टू रिलाई ओनली ऑन वन पर्सपेक्टिव, समटाइम्स यू कैन ब्रिंग इन ऑल पर्सपेक्टिव एंड pick what is best from each and combine them and create your own solution. So ये हमेशा necessary नहीं है that you should rely on only one school of thought or theory. You can bring best elements of all theory and synthesize them and create a comprehensive better answer. So you can use utilitarianism as well, you can use deontology as well, you can use virtue ethics as well. It depends, case to case ही अलग अलग होता है. Sometimes you have to solely rely on utilitarianism. Sometimes you have to rely on deontology only. It depends on the case or context. But ये अभी आपको समझ में नहीं आएगा, है ना. When we'll move to case studies, you'll understand. So is this clear, guys? Yes. समझ में आ रहा है आपको ये सब? Shall we stop then if you don't have any queries? Yes, why not? देखो 1 year में तो आपका पूरा सिलेबस कंप्लीट हो जाता है. Then you get adequate time to update your notes and write answers before you approach the prelims, है ना. So yes. See, early bird catches the worm. जितने आप जल्दी शुरू करते हो उतना आपको ज्यादा बेनिफिट होता है इस प्रोसेस का. So have you come across those people who qualified exam at the age of 21? Yes. Have you seen some people who could qualify this exam at the age of 21? Correct. Why could they do it? Because they started early and they spent enough time, right? हाँ. So आपको भी ये थोड़ा वक्त देना पड़ेगा. This process is not simply about preparing the exam. It is also preparing you for that role. Your inner transformation must happen. Those qualities, जिसको हम कहते हैं ना officer like qualities, that awareness, those skills must be, acquired over a period of time. अगर आपके पास वो पहले से ही है देन इट इज क्विक फॉर यू, बट नहीं है तो थोड़ा वक्त लगेगा, है ना. सो बी रियलिस्टिक अबाउट दिस एंटायर प्रोसेस. डोंट बी, यू नो जिसको हम कहते हैं ना कि ज्यादा इमेजिन मत करो, ठीक है. बी रियलिस्टिक अबाउट दिस एंटायर प्रोसेस. So shall we stop, guys, then, if you don't have any queries? All right. Thank